Not that whole.
Welcome. My name is Floyd Lumore. I'm the interim executive director here. You can just call me Floyd the Temp. It's really wonderful to see all of you here. And I think first on the agenda is to not just welcome you all, but to thank Annie and team for putting this event together. Yay. And it's particularly gratifying that we're starting a process of honoring and recognizing Black History Month.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And I want to share a bit of an anecdote for you. This month has a special meaning for me as a young white boy growing up in Detroit. I encountered one of my biggest heroes of the Black community, who I'd like to lift up into this space today. Her name, and this will come as no surprise to the kitchen staff, was Nichelle Nichols. She is no longer with us, and she championed the way by playing Lieutenant Uhura on the Starship Enterprise.
Oh,
Yes. Hers was the first interracial kiss on television, and when she thought about leaving the show, Martin Luther King said to her, "Don't you dare. You're an officer on a spaceship in the 23rd century giving lots of young Black kids hope." And so I'd like to recognize and honor her name, Nichelle Nichols, who played, as I said, Lieutenant Uhura, which means freedom in Swahili. So on that special note, I hope you'll join me in uplifting Black Americans all month and throughout the year, and enjoy the series.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I just want to say the team is Bernice Kelly, Kalu Besa, Janice Warner. That's the team that pulled this together today.
Thank you.
Please sit back, and we hope that you're going to enjoy the program. And I'm going to start with the origin of Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual technology. The origin of Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration of the achievements of African Americans. It's a time for recognizing the central role African Americans have had in U.S. history. The event grew out of Negro History Week, the brainchild of noted historian, publisher, scholar, and educator Carter G. Woodson. He's on the board. He was born in Virginia in 1875. He earned a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Chicago University. He earned a PhD from Harvard in 1912. He was the second Black individual to earn a doctorate from Harvard. W.E.B. Du Bois was number one. During his studies, Woodson noticed that textbooks often misrepresented or entirely left out Black Americans and their contributions to America. He believed that teaching of Black history was key to physical and intellectual survival in society. Inspired by events in 1915, Dr. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, the ASNLH, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to doing research, disseminating information about Black life, history, culture, and the achievements to the global community. Branches grew up across the country, and in 1916, he founded the Journal of Negro History. ASNLH still exists today and is located in Washington, D.C., and it's now called the Association of African American Life and History. Seeking to bring even more stories of African Americans to light, in February of 1926, for greater impact, Dr. Woodson and his group established Negro History Week. February was chosen because February 12th was President Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and February 14th was the accepted birthday of Frederick Douglass. He felt that these two men were symbols of freedom. Woodson's work over the years inspired schools and communities nationwide to organize local celebrations, establish history clubs, and host performances and lectures. He died in 1950. During his lifetime, he wrote over 20 books. He worked as a principal, and he was the dean at Howard University. In the decades that followed, mayors of cities across the country began issuing yearly proclamations recognizing Negro History Week. By the late 1960s, thanks in part to the civil rights movement and growing awareness of Black identity, pride, and power, Negro History Week had evolved into Black History Month. President Ford, our 38th president, officially recognized Black History Month, and that was in 1976. Since then, every American president has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a particular theme. We know that Black History Month is recognized in the United States, America, and Canada, and also in Europe, but they recognize it in October. In 2024, the theme that was decided by ASALH was African American and the Arts. It explores all forms of art. The platform is to understand the history, struggle, social justice, and triumph of African Americans. I'm going to conclude by saying that in Black History Month at RSS encourages us to continue to celebrate and educate ourselves and others about the achievements, the culture, and the history of African Americans, past and present. Thank you. Enjoy our tribute as we honor the African American experience. Ernest, oh.
I will.
Hi, so I'm Bernice Kelly, and I'm Bernice Kelly, and I'm a member of RSS, and I am going to do a quick and dirty job of surveying African American visual art. There are countless African American artists, and I am merely going to touch the tip of the iceberg. My focus will be on contemporary artists, painters, sculptors, and one internationally famous collagist, and I'll explain any terms. And finally, outside sculpture, which I think is some of the best because it's always there and you can touch it. And if you're tactile, as I am, you like to touch the sculpture. Should be on the screen. You'll see it?
Pointed at the camera.
Up?
Move back. Move back. Back.
Oh, there. Okay.
That remind me of us.
This? And this. I'm starting with what would be considered light art. Art that can be smiled at, laughed at, make you feel warm, not difficult to associate yourself with. The one with the card players is called Six No Uptown. Now, what does that mean? That's a bid in bid whist. And bid whist and whist, which is a simpler form of it, is very popular in many black communities. Rural, urban, suburban. It's a game we play. The other picture, oh, I'm sorry, that picture is by Annie Lee, L-E-E, the one of bid whist. The first one I showed. I'm sorry?
Bid whist.
Bid whist. W-H-I-S-T. There's bid whist and there's whist. Okay? The first picture was by Trudy Canwood, and I'm going to spell the names, but I'm not giving dates because I just don't have time. Canwood is spelled just the way it sounds, C-A-N-W-O-O-D. And what I love about this picture is the mix, the stripes, the hearts, the different colors, even the cylindrical shapes of her hair, and the dignity with which a plus-size black woman is depicted. There was recently a show at the Whitney by Henry Taylor. I have to show the picture. Closed recently. The name of this picture is The Dress Ain't Me. And I love it because a little girl, okay, I'll wear it, but it doesn't mean I like it, and it doesn't mean it feels like me. Henry Taylor is a contemporary artist on the West Coast. I believe it was his very first show at the Whitney. And what is so interesting about this picture is how flat it is. There is no nuance at all. There's no shading. There's barely any detail. But the little girl stands out and is looking at us while the woman appears to be looking at her. Perhaps perplexed, perhaps wondering, what do I do now? But what's so wonderful about this piece, as is true of so much art, is that it's open to your interpretation. I'm going to move on to cityscapes.
Yes. over, yes.
It's the work of Archibald Motley. Such a crowded frame. People practically on top of one another. But despite the crowd, there is distinct form. There are men and women. There are different skin tones. There's a policeman seemingly addressing the traffic. And the foreground, interestingly enough, is as interesting as the background, where there are people moving, where there are automobiles, and so on. A very crowded cityscape done by Archibald Motley, a famous Black artist who began work in the 1920s. The title of that work is Black Belt, which was a common name for neighborhoods that blacks were forced to live in because they were not permitted to buy or rent anywhere they wished, which of course we know continues today. And now it's called redlining. A second cityscape. I'll show it and then I will let you handle it. The pictures are circulating, so you can see them up close. This one is called The Street, the one that's being shown. If you were looking at it, you would see strong vertical lines. You would see very few colors. It's the work of Jacob Lawrence, a famous American portraiture, although he did more than portraits, but he's probably best known for portraits. His work is influenced by West African art, which of course goes back centuries, and also Latin American art. He adapted a term for his work. It was dynamic cubism. And if you think of the cubist, think of Picasso. You can see echoes of that in the work that the writer is showing to everyone in the room.
What's the name of the picture? What's the name of the picture?
The name of the picture is, I think it's a street. Yes, it's The Street is the name of that picture. The next person is, in my view, the most famous collagist in this country. Now, when you do collage, what you do is you take your canvas or you take your poster board, whatever your base is, and you put on it whatever you want to do. You can put hair, you can put texture, you can put pictures. Pictures taken out of newspapers, out of magazines. And these different materials set up a tension, a dynamic within the picture. You might have guessed that I'm describing Romary Bearden, whose work is just, it's so exciting. His colors are brilliant. His adaptation in terms of how he creates collage is exciting. Pictures out of a magazine, pictures maybe of a head that you study when you were taking a course in African art. And in this case, both of these pictures, collages, are a celebration of the African American experience in the rural setting. I forgot to show the folks at home. Move back?
Yes.
Awesome.
Put it down.
Okay.
Just like straight up your head. Nice. Straight.
Okay. I'll show you. Now I'm moving to sculpture. Elizabeth Catlett. The title of that work is The Bather. Catlett's sculpture is always smooth, sensual, and usually in light wood, light colored wood. Not only was she a sculptress, she also did woodcut and painting. And on the back is an example of one of her woodcuts that was used as an illustration. Lorena? Now, her last name is spelled Catlett, C-A-T-L-E-T-T. And I'm spelling these names in case you want to go to the internet and find out more about these people. I'll go to my first slide from the Whitney show. You already saw the Dress Ain't Me. And now my slide will come up. I went to the Whitney, obviously, and I was stunned when I walked into this room. I was stunned because I'd never seen anything like this outside of China. When we went to the city where the 8,000 soldiers were discovered, life-size statues of soldiers, each one of them different. And this is Henry Taylor's tribute to the Panthers, which you may not know. Panthers are not known as aggressive animals, but reactive animals. They react to threats. They do not initiate. Yet, J. Edgar Hoover considered them the most dangerous group in the United States, at the same time that KKK and the White Citizens Council was going about their business. And of course, we know, if we know details about the Panthers, that they were the first to serve free breakfasts to children. They had free medical clinics, and they performed many other services, all for free. I'm out of time, and I have got so many more pages of artists, and I'm so sorry that I must stop, but I must, because there are other people on the program, and I thank you for your attention, and I hope that I have piqued your interest in that you will pursue more information about Black visual artists. Thank you.
I'm Janice Warner, and I am going to read two poems, both short, by Gwendolyn Brooks. Now, Gwendolyn Brooks was 20th century. She was an educator. She taught University of Chicago and higher education. And she won the a Nobel Prize for poetry. She was the first Black African to do that. And the first poem I want to read is very famous. Gwendolyn Brooks, although she taught in the universities, was very, very interested in the education of young people and keeping her eye on them and trying to keep them corralled, going in the right direction. And her most famous poem is called We Real Cool. We real cool. We real cool. We left school. We left late. We strike straight. We sing gin. We thin gin. We jazz June. We die soon. Feeling that last line is when you die soon. As a matter of fact, the poem's title is The Pool Players, because that's what they do all the time. And then the second part is 7 at the Golden Shovel, because they're being buried in their graves. Gwendolyn Brooks wrote a poem that I'm going to read because it so much describes my little girl. My little girl is 40. She's gonna be 41 this year. The first part of the poem may be both of us together, but the last part of the poem's all her. It doesn't have a title. Life for my child is simple, and it's good. She knows her wish, and that's not all, because I know mine too. And we both want joy undeep and unabiding, like kicking over a chair and throwing blocks out of the window, or tipping over an icebox, fun, or snatching down curtains, or fingering an electric socket, or a journey with a friend, or an illegal kiss. Nope, there is more to it than that. It is that she has never been afraid. Rather, she reaches out and the chair just falls softly. And the blocks fall down on people's heads. And the water comes sloshing sloppy out across and so forth. Not that success for her. For her, success is infallible, but she never has been afraid to reach. Her lesions are legion, but reaching is her rule. Sarah McCoy is going to read Lucille Clifton. No, sorry, I'm wrong. I'm often wrong. I don't reach.
That's okay, I'll do
Who
it.
are you doing?
Alice Walker.
Just for me. Oh, wait a minute, let me say one thing. Alice Walker, you probably all know from The Color Purple. But she wrote so many, many more poems that she won the Nobel Prize
That's right, that's
for
right.
poetry.
Yes.
But we know The Color Purple. I am
It's okay. Okay. I'm going to read two poems by Alice Walker. Am I being picked up here? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. You can't hear me? They can't hear me.
Well, just make sure your mouth is pointed towards it. Like when you're speaking, speak into the mic. You gotta speak into the mic.
Okay. Not used to microphone speakers, so. Okay, the first poem by Alice Walker, Expect Nothing. Somebody's heard of it before. Okay, expect nothing. Live frugally. Thank you. Gotta see what I'm reading. Expect nothing. Live frugally on surprise. Become a stranger to need of pity. Or, if compassion be freely given out, take only enough. Stop short of urge to plead, then purge away the need. Wish for nothing larger than your own small heart, or greater than a star. Tame wild disappointment with caress unmoved and cold. Make of it a Parker for your soul. Discover the reason why so tiny human midget exists at all. So scared, unwise, but expect nothing. Live frugally on surprise. That's it. The next poem is a little longer, and it has a lot of meaning. And I'm sure it touches mostly everybody's life if they think about it. It's I Will Keep Broken Things by Alice Walker. I will keep broken things. The big clay pot with raised iguanas chasing their tails. Two of their wise heads sheared off. I will keep broken things. The old slave market basket brought to my door by the Mississippi. A jagged hole gouged in its sturdy, dark oak side. I will keep broken things. The memory of those long, delicious night swims with you. I will keep broken things. In my house there remains an honored shelf on which I will keep broken things. Their beauty is they need not ever be fixed. I will keep your wild, free laughter, though it is now missing its reassuring and graceful hinges. I will keep broken things. Thank you so much. I will keep broken things. I will keep you, pilgrim of sorrow. I will keep myself.
Hi. My name is Jane House, and I'm going to be reading. A little louder.
Louder.
My name is Jane House, and I am going to be reading 2 poems, both of them by Lucille Clifton.
Who's Lucille Clifton? I don't know who that is.
Begin with the pain of the grass that bore the weight of Adam, his broken rib mending into Eve. Imagine the original bleeding. Adam moaning, and the lamentation of grass from that garden, through fields of lost and found, to now, to here, to grief for the upright animal, to grief for the horizontal world. Pause then for the human animal in its coat of many colors. Pause for the myth of America. Pause for the myth of America, and pause for the girl with 12 fingers who never learned to cry enough for anything that mattered. Not enough for the fear, not enough for the loss, not enough for the history, not enough for the disregarded planet, not enough for the grass. Then end in the garden of regret, with time's bell tolling grief and pain. Grief for the grass that is older than Adam. Grief for what is born human. Grief for what is not.
I don't know who that is.
Lucille Clifton.
20th century African American poet. Very well known.
That's who
Very
she is.
loud.
From the
Okay.
Midwest.
Okay, from the Midwest.
Buffalo.
Yeah, it's nice that you give a little background. A lot of people might not know who she
I
is.
wasn't told to do that, so I'm sorry.
You did well.
You did.
Thank you.
But I want to know the background. So that's not what I want to know.
Quite, no, you're quite, you, thank you, Jane. I'm not finished. You are quite Right, there should be a background, so don't worry about it. The next poem is a little different in tone. It's called Won't You Celebrate With Me? Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. Thank you.
Please. Come on up.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Nereida Colon. My Doyen Fuentes is my last name. I was born in Puerto Rico, 1946, and migrated to the States. Can you hear me? And I said my name is Nereida Colon, and my last Doyen Fuentes. And I migrated to the States when I was 6 years old with my mother, my sister, who was 1 year older, and myself, and my brother joined us around 2 years later. It was a whirlwind. So I'm gonna read you some poems that, I'm a poet also, and I brought 3 poems that I thought would give you a little bit of feeling about myself. The first one I wrote, and this poem, I wrote it in 2015, and I entitled it, Whirlwind of a Life. I live in a world, can you hear me? Yes. I live in a whirlwind of life, never knowing what direction I will be swished to next. It started in a sack full of water, where I learned early on how to swim without drinking any water and staying afloat. I grew, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I grew so desperately just so I can flush out this watery grave and of this dawn, teeny tiny space that seemed like it was choking me to the brim of the water's false edge. Then, just when I thought I felt some relief, I felt the grain red water was through with wishing and washing me. I thought that I felt a rush of desire that pushed me to a place where I didn't think I wanted to venture. Without choice, I did. The road was soft and so mushy, I hated the thought of what would lie before me. Then, just when I was caught in a colorful rope, that I felt that it was attached to my body and soul, I wanted to cry out but found I had no voice. And then I saw a tunnel of red, pink, yellow, white, and blue, and I knew that I would never return, and I would never remember how I came to be in that whirlwind of life. I wrote this in 2015. And then, the next one I wrote also in June of 2015, and I entitled it, In Mine Eyes Only. They are brown eyes, soft as the furry skin of a hibernating cub, or the eyes sparkling of blue skies with a wisdom-filled glance, bigger than the sky and then beyond, of those big bursting rains filled with white clouds. And then there are eyes of multicolored mountains, of shades of hazel, bronze, beaming lights, and when one look, it penetrates your inner spirit and looks for an outlet for a chance to take flight. With the sharp black eyes like those of an eagle, squinting with that look of an old man of the sea, trying to see the treasures that time will never allow her to find, for those treasures that are lost and will never be buried in the seashell grave covered with the ocean's green algae that will never ever see themselves in the palm of a human hand. With long, thick lashes that make them stand out and sharp black eyes like those of an eagle, with a sharp glass of a past gone but never forgotten, but with those beady eyes filled with a mystical knowledge that only a gypsy can read, like a finger of a blind child, learning to feel and trying to make sense of a life so dark yet so real, and her world starts to imagine, what if it would be like just to see anything other than the shade of a color that is all of her and also of me. Then I begin to imagine and learn that perhaps it is in mine eyes only. And the last poem I wrote, and I will translate a little bit, I wrote it in Spanish. Anyway, so for us to understand Spanish, and I will translate it in English, and I entitled it La Promesa, which means the promise. La promesa, dar la palabra, que en eso como una espada en el aire, volando a su destino. La promesa, tener una inocencia que no puede ver afuera de su ambiente. La promesa, tener comodidad en un abrazo, sabiendo que nunca te va a abandonar. La promesa, entiendo y empezar a aceptar que la fuerza de un amor verdadero nunca se borra de una alma y vive siempre en la mente y en el corazón. La promesa, no estar ciego y ni negar las almas de ayer y entender que palabras son muchas y los mensajes que llevan en el conocimiento siempre se entienden igual. Piénsalo. Basically, what I wrote in this poem was the promise. I promise to give my word. That is like an arrow flying through the air, swimming and flying to its destiny. The promise, having an innocence that cannot be put outside of your environment. La promesa, tener comodidad en un abrazo. The promise to have comfort in an embrace. Sabiendo que nunca te va a abandonar. Knowing that you will never be abandoned. The promise. La promesa, entendiendo y empezar a aceptar las fuerzas de un amor verdadero que nunca se borran de una alma y vive siempre en un corazón. The promise is accepting that you'll never will lose your soul, and you will live always in the heart and of your mind. The promise, the promise, not nunca estar ciego a negar almas de ayer. Never, the promise, never to deny the souls of the yesterdays, and to understand that the words are many and the messages that they take are few and they're equal. Piénsalo.
Should I get a chair? Get a chair.
Okay, what we're going to do as part of the African experience, the lovely ladies here going to teach you, are going to demonstrate how to wrap the hair, okay? Yes. The demonstration you're going to see It's mostly what you will see when you go to the village in Liberia, and Liberia is in the west coast of Africa. So Africa is a big old continent. Depending on which region you're in, the dress will look different. The fabric will look different. The poise will look different. The language will be different. Even in Liberia, there are 27 languages. So I am just representing a couple of those villages within the country, Liberia. All right? So we're going to get you to demonstrate to the ladies. And however way you rap, where you end up, that's it. Go ahead. No, one at a time.
Me first? Oh,
Yes, ma'am. That's Miss Janice Warner. Okay.
Somebody told me it was mine.
Okay, you do whatever way you remember.
From you.
Okay? All right. Okay, turn back, turn around so they can see what you're doing. Okay, go
Turn
ahead.
around?
So they can see that. Okay, so they can see you doing the back. Yeah, okay. Take your turn. Okay. All right. You can do it good.
You're doing good, you're doing good.
Turn forward now.
That's it.
Come forward. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. Now. Yes. Okay. You got it.
No, it's good, it's good.
I find it scary. You're doing good. You're doing good.
I kind of do this, and I kind of do this, and I bring this tight
Yeah.
over here, and I tie it.
Yep.
Right.
Then,
Oh, like a flower.
All right. And she just learned it. Right? Now, let's get Hilda up.
Can't get up.
No, you can sit there. You can sit there. That's okay. You sit. You want to stand up?
around.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hilda Romero. Okay.
You will die now.
You got it. You can do it.
Show them what you're creating. There you go.
It doesn't look bad.
It's gorgeous.
It doesn't look bad.
Okay, got it. Great. Nice.
All right.
And then we put this bottom on.
Hilda, show the camera. Come to the camera.
So everybody can see. Come in there?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. Let them see you down here. What is
No,
it?
no, they see her, they see her.
They can see her, okay?
Bend down a
Come
bit.
down a little bit.
There they go.
Ta-da!
That's a pretty one. I love that. This is coming. It's all hand done, and it comes in strips. I put it together, and I kind of put the little designs in it. You did it? Yes. I didn't make the print. If you buy the pieces,
We're sewn together. We're sewn together.
very nice.
Oh, good. Let's see how she's doing.
Guys, yeah, good job.
Good. She'll get it. She'll get it. She's into it. She got it. Okay.
Going around.
Oh. Right? Got it. Yeah. Got it.
30 seconds in the middle, but yeah. Me, I would start sweating.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a party.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
pretty.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Wow. Oh, but look at the trouble though. I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to come here, is it?
So everybody can see it.
Right here. Okay.
In the computer.
Oh, so people are not listening.
Very nice.
Right, you got it. You got it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I need a model. I need a volunteer model to come and stand here. Who's going to volunteer his or her head?
And do what?
Volunteer right here.
You can bring your chair. You can bring your chair.
Oh, good.
Wow. Did you wrap that
All right. That's impossible. All right. Again, we are in Liberia. As I told you earlier, it's a big continent, Africa, and Liberia is just a little part in it. And so all that you see is my creation, Liberian.
Okay.
If you went to Ghana, it would be wrapped different.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what's there is this. Wow. And notice I'm gonna do it different from that.
She's gonna put it together. Strings it up. She's gonna finish.
So you see the two difference, right?
Yes, mother. You working, girl.
You look sad.
I like it. Take it.
And just rest it up.
Very easy to put on. Right.
I can even put it on the side.
Put it on first.
Somebody wanted to do it this one paper, it's all parrot. Okay?
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
You ain't right.
Yes, they're coming out.
You gonna do more?
He's the king.
How you gonna do the king? How you gonna do the king? Go ahead, here comes the king.
This is from Liberia.
Watusi. Watusi. Like Watusi. Watusi not a country? No. It's a people, right? Are you sure? What country? Are you
This time, smile up, and the Espins present to you all, Run with God. You can but when you walk around, it becomes wild. Your friends will laugh at you when you fall back like a judgment. Go, son.
afternoon.
Yes.
Guys, everyone who performed it all today, could you guys come up so we can give you a standing ovation?
That's right.
I think he liked it.
All right, y'all.
Thank you so much. This was so much work. You guys don't know how much work everybody in this group put into this. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Somebody dance, you can still
Everybody get up here. Your turn. This is your turn. Loud. Loud. I heard
This time, Smiler and the Espis present to you all Land with God.